N-Hexane is a neurotoxin that, in purest form, is a flammable, colorless substance. N-Hexane is an isomer of hexane, which means the two compounds have a different organization of atoms but share the same formula. In this case, they share a different organization of hydrogen and carbon atoms. N-Hexane can enter the body through ingestion and respiration. When N-Hexane is released into the air, it interacts with oxygen, causing N-Hexane to break down at a lightning speed. Once in the air, N-Hexane is inhaled. On the other hand, N-Hexane interacts poorly with water. N-Hexane is found in objects such as paint and sprays, as well as used in the extraction of oil from various seeds of plants. Additionally, it appears everywhere in our daily lives. For example, it can be found in jet engine parts, furniture, sandals, vegetable oil, and in aspects of the printing press. Traces of N-Hexane can also be found in drugstore aisles containing cleaning products, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetic products, leather products, and thermometers. In an Apple computer factory in China, workers were exposed to N-Hexane in a cleaning solvent used to clean the touch screen panels in iPhones. For many of these workers, excessive exposure to N-Hexane resulted in nerve damage. We will now explore how N-Hexane affects the body and causes this nerve damage.
This is a body. We rely on sensory information to travel from our body through the spinal cord all the way to the brain. In one case study, a 51-year-old woman, more mildly exposed to N-Hexane, couldn't sense vibration even though she could sense pain and temperature. Some people exposed to N-Hexane on a more daily basis, say workers at an Apple factory in China, suffered more severe effects of N-Hexane such as hypersensation to the cold, sweaty palms, and weak limbs. All signs point to nerve damage. Today we're going to explain how N-Hexane wreaks havoc on our motor neurons. This is a motor neuron. In a normal motor neuron, input information could go into the dendrites, get passed through the axon, which is protected and insulated by the myelin sheath. Then after the information travels through the axon, it is to be released by the synaptic terminal and into the next target cell to produce an action potential, all the way through other neurons to reach the brain. So the journey from the dendrites along the axon to the synaptic terminal is crucial in order to fire an action potential to the next neuron and to the primary motor cortex in the brain. So how does N-Hexane interfere with this? Well, for one, N-Hexane disrupts neuron signals by thinning out the myelin sheath, which functions to protect and insulate the axon. The myelin sheath wraps around the axon like a cable wire, and the axon swells up upon exposure to N-Hexane, and the myelin sheath deteriorates in a process called demyelination. By deteriorating the myelin sheath, the propagation of the impulse is much slower. Second, the N-Hexane damages the axon. By damaging the axon, the neural streamline of communication is also damaged. A lesion at the axon means that the information cannot reach the brain because the communication line is disrupted.
Exposure to N-Hexane is harmful to the body and can cause long-term health problems. Studies have even proven that N-Hexane can be a contributing factor in the onset of Parkinson's disease in individuals who are exposed to N-Hexane for long periods of time. In 2009, researchers in China performed neuroradiological and neurophysiological tests on a 55-year-old man with Parkinson's disease. This man, who was a factory worker, had regularly been exposed to N-Hexane for 17 years. The results of the two tests suggest a role of N-Hexane in damage to the central nervous system. Additionally, recent biochemical analysis done on rats has shown that the presence of N-Hexane causes a decrease in dopamine levels in rat striata. In more simple terms, N-Hexane exposure in rat brains can lead to neurodegenerative processes. Because N-Hexane affects the central nervous system, long-term N-Hexane exposure can lead to permanent nerve damage, cause muscle atrophy and weakness, and sweaty palms. Workers at an Apple factory in Suzhou, China, that were exposed to N-Hexane experienced permanent nerve damage, which left them hypersensitive to cold. As you can imagine, the effects of N-Hexane caused social and emotional distress as well. A young man who had worked at the Apple factory and suffered from N-Hexane exposure exclaimed to the New York Times, "I went back to my village, but everyone knows what happened to me, so it has made it difficult for me to find a wife there." Other workers from the same apple factory have reported that their weakness due to N-Hexane exposure has made it more difficult to climb stairs and perform other basic tasks like buttoning a shirt. Other workers complained of dizzy spells and pounding headaches. One worker exclaimed, "My palms started sweating and my legs got numb." N-Hexane exposure is definitely something to be avoided as it can cause long-lasting damage.